Right now, as you are watching this video, 9 people are missing somewhere in the mountains of Northern California. They were last known to be buried or running from a massive avalanche that roared down the slopes of Castle Peak in the Sierra Nevada. It is 9,000 feet up. It is blizzard conditions. Rescuers can barely get to them because the same storm that triggered the avalanche is still raging, and it could trigger more avalanches at any moment. 6 people from the group were found alive, huddled under a tarp in the freezing wilderness, surviving on willpower. 2 of them have been rushed to the hospital, but 9 others remain unaccounted for. Today, we are going to break down exactly what happened, why this mountain was essentially a loaded gun waiting to go off, and what this terrifying event tells us about the future of winter in the American West. Stay with me. This one is serious. At around 11:30 in the morning, on Tuesday, February 17th, someone dialed 911 from somewhere high in the mountains near Truckee, California. The message was simple and terrifying: avalanche, people buried. The group caught in the slide was a guided backcountry ski tour run by a company called Blackbird Mountain Guides, based in Truckee. The party consisted of 12 paying clients and 4 professional mountain guides, 15 people in total. They had been staying at the remote Frog Lake backcountry huts, deep in Tahoe National Forest, since February 15th. This was the final day of a 3-day trip. They were on their way home when the mountain came down on them. The Frog Lake huts are not some casual weekend destination. Getting there in winter means skiing up to 4 miles through rugged, ungroomed backcountry terrain, carrying all your food and supplies. It is the kind of place that attracts serious, experienced outdoor enthusiasts. And yet, that experience was not enough to protect them from what happened next. The avalanche struck in the Castle Peak area at an elevation of roughly 8,200 feet. The Sierra Avalanche Center classified it as a D2.5 on the destructive scale, somewhere between large and very large. To put that in perspective, a D2 avalanche is long enough to bury a football field with enough force to kill or completely bury a person. A D3 can destroy a car or a house. This slide landed right in between. Rescue teams from Boreal Mountain Ski Resort and the Alder Creek Adventure Center were immediately mobilized. Snowcats, snowmobiles, and ski teams were deployed, including 46 emergency responders. But getting to the victims was brutal. The storm was still raging, and visibility was near zero. Every time a rescuer moved too quickly through the terrain, they risked setting off another avalanche. 6 survivors were eventually reached late Tuesday night. They had built a makeshift shelter from a tarp in a stand of trees. They were in contact with rescuers via emergency satellite beacons, sending text messages from the side of a mountain in a blizzard. 2 were taken to a hospital. As of this morning, 9 others remain missing, and the search is on hold until conditions allow aircraft to fly safely. Now, let's talk science. Because this avalanche did not come out of nowhere, the mountain had been building toward this moment for days, maybe weeks. Avalanches do not just happen because there is a lot of snow. They happen because of how the snow fell, when it fell, and what is hiding underneath it. Think of the snowpack like a layer cake, and in the Sierra Nevada right now, several of those layers are dangerously weak. Here is what made Castle Peak so volatile. First, rapid accumulation. The storm that hit the Sierra Nevada in the days leading up to the avalanche dumped enormous amounts of snow in a very short period. The Boreal Mountain Ski Resort, just a few miles from Castle Peak, recorded 30 inches of new snow in just 24 hours. In some areas closer to the slope, forecasters recorded snow falling at 3 to 4 inches per hour. That is an extraordinary rate. When snow piles up that fast, the layers beneath do not have time to bond and stabilize. The weight above them keeps increasing, but the foundation stays weak. Second, wind loading. It was not just falling snow. Gale force winds were hurling it horizontally. Ridge gusts were recorded at up to 80 miles per hour in exposed areas. Wind does not just move snow around, it compresses it unevenly. One side of a ridge can gain a massive slab of dense, heavy wind-loaded snow, while the slope below it has an entirely different texture. These wind slabs are notorious for releasing suddenly and without warning. Third, the weak layer underneath. Avalanche forecasters talk a lot about buried weak layers, and this is the silent killer that turns a heavy snowfall from exciting to deadly. In the weeks before this storm, the Sierra Nevada experienced warmer temperatures and some rain at lower elevations, followed by a cold snap. That cycle can create a fragile, crystallized layer deep in the snowpack. When a heavy new storm dumps 30 inches on top of it, that weak layer simply cannot hold the weight. It collapses, and the entire slab above it slides. The Sierra Avalanche Center's lead forecaster described the situation as particularly dangerous in the backcountry right now. That is an understatement on a breathtaking scale. Here is the part of this story that is genuinely hard to sit with. They were warned. Starting at 5 a.m. on the morning of February 17th, more than 6 hours before the avalanche struck, the Sierra Avalanche Center issued a formal avalanche warning for the central Sierra Nevada, including the greater Lake Tahoe region. The bulletin from the center was unmistakably clear. It stated that large avalanches were likely on Tuesday, continuing through Tuesday night and into at least early Wednesday morning in backcountry areas. Traveling in, near, or beneath avalanche-prone terrain was strongly discouraged for the day. It also warned that a widespread natural avalanche cycle was expected within the next 24 hours, with the potential for large slides to sweep through forested terrain. The advisory further emphasized that the high danger level could persist through Wednesday. It even specifically warned that high danger could continue through Wednesday. Ski resorts around Lake Tahoe responded appropriately. Many closed entirely or operated with severe restrictions because of the wind and poor visibility. The Boreal Mountain Ski Resort, right next to where the avalanche happened, was completely shut down. And yet, a guided party of 15 people ventured into that exact terrain. Nevada County Sheriff's Captain Russell Green did not mince words when asked about this. He said the decision to take clients into the backcountry under those conditions was possibly not a wise choice, and he added that the full picture was not yet known. The guide company Blackbird Mountain Guides has confirmed they were involved and stated they are cooperating fully with authorities. This is not about blame right now. 9 people are still missing, and that is the only thing that matters today. But this question will need to be asked and answered once the rescue operation concludes. Now, zoom out with me for a moment. Is this a freak incident, or is something larger happening? This winter season alone, 6 people have already died in avalanches across the United States as of early February. The long-term average is 25 to 30 avalanche deaths per year nationally. Castle Peak itself has already seen deadly activity this winter. In January, a snowmobiler was killed by an avalanche in the exact same general area. The storm that triggered Tuesday's slide is being described as one of the strongest of the season. The National Weather Service forecast up to 8 feet of snow in parts of the Sierra before the storm moved through. Interstate 80, one of the major routes through the Sierra, was shut down completely, with near-zero visibility across Donner Pass. Multiple highways in California and Nevada were closed or restricted simultaneously. This is not just bad luck. This is a pattern. Climate scientists have been warning for years that warming global temperatures are changing the character of winter storms in the American West. Warmer atmospheric temperatures hold more moisture, and when a storm does arrive, it can dump far more snow in a much shorter time than historical norms. That rapid accumulation is exactly the mechanism that makes avalanches so explosive and unpredictable. At the same time, warmer baseline temperatures create more freeze-thaw cycles during the winter, and those cycles build the weak layers within the snowpack that cause catastrophic releases when a heavy storm arrives on top of them. In other words, the conditions that created Tuesday's avalanche are not a one-time event. They are becoming more common, and backcountry skiing is growing in popularity. More people are in the wilderness during more volatile winters with warning systems that are sophisticated but only useful if people actually listen to them. Search aircraft are expected to deploy over Castle Peak this morning, February 18th, as soon as weather permits. Rescuers on the ground are holding their position until it's safe to advance, because sending more people into active avalanche terrain without adequate conditions would risk compounding the tragedy. The Sierra Avalanche Center has warned that elevated avalanche danger could persist through at least Wednesday. That means the search window is narrow and conditions will remain tense. For the 9 missing, survival is possible. The 6 who were found had basic shelter, working emergency beacons, and were in contact with rescuers. If others in the group similarly found shelter and cover, they may still be alive. Survival time in extreme cold, especially with any insulation or protection from wind, can extend beyond 24 hours. But every passing hour matters. Castle Peak sits on the Donner Summit, a place already infamous in American history. In the winter of 1846 to 1847, a group of pioneer settlers were trapped there by exactly this kind of ferocious Sierra storm. The Donner Party's story became one of the darkest chapters in American frontier history. Nearly 180 years later, this mountain is once again demanding respect it was not given. So I want to ask you something directly. Do you think events like this are going to happen more often? Because I do, and I don't think it's a controversial opinion. The science is clear: extreme winter events are intensifying. The backcountry is more crowded than ever, and the gap between what warning systems tell us and what people actually decide to do in the mountains remains dangerously wide. 9 people are missing right now. Families are waiting. Rescuers are risking their own lives in a blizzard to find them. And the storm isn't even over yet. If you are a backcountry skier, a snowboarder, or a snowmobiler, take this story seriously. Check the avalanche forecast before you go. Carry a beacon, a probe, and a shovel. Know how to use them. And when the forecast says high danger, that means the mountain is telling you to stay home. Listen to it. If this video opened your eyes to how quickly a beautiful day in the mountains can become a catastrophe, please share it. Hit subscribe if you want to keep following stories like this, where science, nature, and human decisions collide in the most consequential ways. I'll have an update on the search operation as soon as new information comes through. Until then, I'm thinking about everyone still out there on that mountain tonight. Stay safe.